You can't imagine what it means for businesses that earn less than 50 million not to pay tax. You can't imagine what it means for multiplicity of taxes to be abrogated. You can't imagine what it means for people who earn less than the minimum wage or even minimum wage not to pay tax. So the exemptions are such that up to 100 million Nigerians will benefit from these tax reform bills. So let's not listen to social media. Let's not listen to Arise Television, and I hope they are well guided with the explanation of the Senate leader.
Ahmed Sheikh Gummi, an Islamic scholar from the Kaduna state, has thrown his weight in support of the Tinubu's tax reform bill, as arguing that this will be a wake-up call for the northern politicians who are only cruising to Abuja for allocation on monthly basis and have nothing to show for it. Instead, the North has been more impoverished and plugged into an endless chaos and crisis rocking the entire North, and the societal and economic activities within the North has been greatly disrupted, and people living in IDPs having no hope of returning to their natural habitats or ancestral homes and communities. This is a wake up call, according to Gumi, that the northern political elites should wake up to the reality rather than living in denial and deception, exploitation of the people, and embezzlement and fraud. Of course, ripping off the commonwealth of the northern people for barely 40 years, having occupied the seat of power. They are only dependent on the proceeds from the southern region, where they will always have the large chunk of this at the end of the month. It is a wake up call for the North to tackle insecurity and get themselves back on the path of progress rather than opposing this tax bill. Is a wake up call for the North to go back, because you can't continue to eat your cake and have it. You can't continue to depend, being parasitic, of course, depending on other people's engagement and reforms and the development economic boom within the South just to rip off. No, there is no longer time for sharing. There is no free sharing. If you want to eat, then you have to go to work. It's not time to, of course, depend on uh, bread and butter, free bread and butter. So, contrary to many expectations, some may have thought that Gumi will oppose this motion in line with the northern interest, but he said this is not a northern interest, rather is any opposition to this is a deceit to continue to enslave and keep the North backwards. That the northern politicians opposing this bill, tax bill reform, should go back and examine their sanity, because it is in the interest of the North to wake up, because other regions have left the North far behind, and they should go back and think of how to get the northern people back on track in terms of economy. What happens to the textile industries that is being known? What happened to the granite pyramids that are source of revenue and exchange? They should go back and see what they can do rather than living in denial. He is ashamed of these northern leaders who call themselves northern political leaders without any positive impact on the northern population. Rather, we have out of school children, people who are not given the opportunity to prepare for their future and to be given a well defined and valuable life in perspective. It's quite unfortunate. Some may have argued that Gumi will always oppose any bill that is not in the interest of the North, but he considers this to be a wake up call and a good development. The greatest thing that has happened to the North to continue uh, or retract their part on the paths of progress. They should go back and sit up. How do we design the economy of the North? How do we, of course, expand opportunities that this might bring our ways? How do we empower the masses? How do we educate the masses, the population of the masses, which they claim to be an advantage, but unfortunately, they are not prepared for the future. They are not empowered educationally and otherwise to prepare for the future and enhance the economic web of the northern people. Now it is a wake up call because there is no longer free ration for them. You can't continue to take advantage of the people. You claim to be have the highest landmass, the highest populations, but in real time, in terms of productivity, you are less and far below expectation. So it is time rather than moving around and backing, you should rather sort out yourself and see how you can right the wrongs of decades and the errors of the past. You should develop your region. If you claim to have the largest landmass and the populations, put them to work rather than coming back to make endless and unguided arguments regarding this. The North must wake up with the enormous resources. You have lithium, you have californium, you have gold, you have different resources embedded within the northern hemisphere. It is time to, of course, return back to the point where you missed it and get things done. For that to happen, you have to restore of the security situation, address the security situation that have disrupt economic and societal activities within the North. If you care to develop, because these are the architects of the northern political elites who are power drunk, who are power intoxicated. They have destroyed that, not minding that that will have a negative impact in the long run. But then they have, of course, all it takes. It is within their uh, purview to address and clear off their mess if they really want to. So stop arguing or opposing this, according to Gummi. It's a wake up call to the National Assembly's members from the North, House of Representatives, and all the political stalwarts, the traditional rulers, to sit back and see why is the North not being productive? Why is it not considered to be one of the most backward regions in the world? It's very unfortunate. It's time to think. Of course, some may come against this program, but then you cannot argue the fact that this is the reality of the time. For Gumi to have come to express his unbiased position regarding this, I think it is perhaps the time of redemption of the North is just around the corner. They should go back and consider their loss, which and the pains they inflicted on the said majority of them, not just the defenseless masses who unfortunately are living in IDPs. So where to return them back, the North must consider that as a priority, and the fight against insurgency must come to fore before any investment or creating the enabling environment to attract foreign and local investors. Let's know what is your own take regarding this development. Well, some the South South senators have endorsed the tax reforms bill and throwing their weight in support of that. Well, that notwithstanding, of course, perhaps that would not stop the cause for the Biafran's freedom that have been already been redeclared or restored. Well, let's know what is your own argument regarding this position. The North, everyone is waking up when it is almost late, but then one could argue that it is not late until it is late. Well, only time will tell how this would go. But can you be talking about reforms, tax reforms, without economic reforms? What are those indices, factors that engender economic viability, productions, and engagements? You know, when the population of Nigeria, over 90% are poor, how do you address this poverty index? The highest in the world. We are once almost at the same rank or level with India, China. Today they have left us, but today, rather than lifting up millions out of poverty, millions are being plunged into poverty, abject poverty in that case. With the tax reform, be the way to go because you can't make reforms or tax unemployable people or people who has no meaningful engagement. The government should have think out way to create enabling environments, attraction of of course, job opportunities, opportunities for the teeming population because you can tax them. Are you going to tax a dead man, somebody walking on the street without meaningful engagement? Who are you going to tax? So it is you tax the productive uh, society, the productive audience or target. You cannot tax somebody who is struggling to eat a meal a day, feeding below poverty line. I mean, below $1 per day. How could you tax such a person? Well, they say that such tax reforms will exempt certain people from that and all that. But the clarity and the reality is that even the value added tax will have impact negative on the masses if such issues and stability and inflation is not addressed. Well, let's know what is your own take regarding this development. We continue to bring your way the unbiased reportage of events and in-depth analysis of same as they continue to unfold, unravel within our society and across the nations. Thank you. Don't forget to hit the like button, share, and subscribe to this channel. I remain Chigozendibo, the host anchor, wishing you the best of the rest of the day. Keep watching as we continue to bring your way exciting and informative informations and entertainment as well. Thank you. Bye. Wishing you the compliment of the season.